Are they quietly turning Nox into the sympathetic figure and Baku into the danger? Because if you look at how episode 14 is framed, Nox feels like the one being hunted, and Baku feels like the one imposing his will. I like this episode. The spectacle was great, but thematically, I think something big shifted here, and I want to unpack it. So we have a lot of interesting camera perspectives and framing shot compositions that make Nox feel like he's the one who's being hunted, like he's the one whose dream we're in at some point. Don't know how that works. And we feel like we're with him as if he's the protagonist of this show. And whether he's a villainous protagonist or a heroic protagonist, it doesn't matter. He's the one that we're following for some portion. And we leave Baku behind and get this real tight focus with Nox. And I can't help feeling sympathy for him and also rooting for him that he's able to defeat this ghostly, haunting nightmare that keeps coming after him. It's interesting because Nox is framed as someone facing a fear, and Baku on the other side is framed as someone who's eliminating a problem. He's tasked with eliminating the threat, or the enemy, which is Baku. Which is Nox. Baku is tasked with, he's given the mission to eliminate the threat, who is Nox, but he seems to be powerless or in a vulnerable position as he's back in his own memories. And in order to deal with that, he ends up seizing the power of the nightmare, specifically the one that struck him down with lightning as a kid, and he turns that into what he needs in order to eliminate the threat. And when he does that, he takes on the visual language of the figure haunting Nox, which I find to be very strange because he becomes villainous while Nox is on the back foot and he becomes almost more heroic looking. That's what it looks like visually. The dream mechanics are intentionally slippery, but that slipperiness matters because it affects character framing. Whoever the dreams belong to, Baku moves through it without reflection. He does not process, he advances. He's just a machine, effectively. He loops through this one section of the dream, and then he gains the power, and then he takes Nem, who is this person who gets cast in dreams and is able to appear in them at will, or, well, at will, but whose will, hers or somebody else's, we don't know. And he's able to take her somewhere else, and he knows that whatever dream they're in now, she's been cast in a role, and he tells her to play it while he goes to play his role, which is to eliminate the threat. The threat that he was questioning, eliminating indiscriminately before, and now he's not. He just is interested in killing Nox effectively, and I don't quite know why. I want to touch back on this lightning ball thing. Instead of confronting the nightmare and dealing with it somehow and figuring out what to do and why he's there and what was happening to him as a kid, he just captures the power of the nightmare. And Nox has posed capsums as the thing that makes nightmares possible or able to come real. And I believe Zero has said that the capsums are what makes, rather, the nightmares are what makes the capsums have power. And when Nox shot the barrier capsum, he released this phantom form from it of a capsum Zeztz, or a barrier Zeztz rather, that was attacking both of them. And I don't quite know how that ties into this. I guess I don't really know which one is true. Is it that the capsums are captured nightmare energy, or is it that the capsums are what gives rise to nightmares? Depending on how you frame out and which perspective you come from, it can be either. Regardless, though, what we see concretely is that there's something in this lightning strike which we see only because we see only after Nem asks Baku what his first nightmare was, and he says it started when he was stricken by the lightning. And then we go back to that moment, and then he's able to capture that. So is the lightning itself the nightmare? Is it was the lightning sent from a nightmare who attacked him? We don't really know. However, we see that Baku gets this extreme increase in power. He's like the Flash, basically. He's dealing with Nox very well. And the fight only stops and de-escalates when the power becomes too much for him. He gets all dark and his transformation breaks and disintegrates, and he's unable to use that power anymore. So we don't know if Baku is actually somebody who's good and has been warning. Sorry, we don't know if Nox is somebody who's good and who's been warning Baku this whole time about the danger that he's in. And we don't know, because of the way the timeline works out, when that started to happen. We get to see an image of Nox or Odaka in his hospital bed somewhere. And we see that at this cram school that Baku was at as a kid before he got stricken by lightning that first time, that the teacher was Nox. And I believe he was wearing his Agent 4 ring, which means he was working for Code or with Code at the time. And there's this question of what was going on there at the cram school. And Nox makes it sound like a memory of Code was being erased from Baku at the time, which leads me to wonder, were all these other kids in the classroom, there was maybe 12 of them, getting programmed by Code or being accessed by Code or being manipulated by Code somehow, and was Nox doing that, Odaka doing that as Agent 4? And if he was, why was he? And what was he doing? And what was the goal of that as well? It's only after he's unable to fight anymore and he's unable to kill Nox that Baku stops and asks these questions and tries to find out the truth of what's going on. And I find that to be fascinating. I didn't expect to be rooting for Nox at this point, and that tells me the show is doing something intentional here. I'm intrigued, I'm unsettled, and I do not think episode 14 is confused. I think it's deliberately uncomfortable. I just don't know why. Did this episode change how you see Baku or Nox, or Zero for that matter? Did the lightning moment work for you? Are we watching the start of corruption or something else? And if it's corruption of Baku and Code is potentially evil, is that corruption a good thing or not? A lot of questions in this one. And I don't have a lot of answers yet. I think next episode will give us a lot more answers. Anyway, you can check out the rest of my Zeztz coverage in the playlist, which will be in the pinned comment. And contribute. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your theories are. Tell me what your thoughts are. And tell me what you thought about this overall. Until next time, folks, this is MJ with Rider Tears and Henshin Inspection signing out.